This video is the solution for Lesson 4's exercise. First thing that I request that we do is that we create a project at the specified location. So let's go New Project, Visual Basic Projects, Windows Application, just like we did in the video for this lesson. And then we're going to call this Exercise 04. And we'll also make sure that it's in the Lesson 04 directory. This project will be created at c:/begin1 lesson 4 exercise 04. Lets us know that we're doing the right thing here, that we're placing this in the correct location. Once we've done this, let's click OK, and a new project will be created as well as a new solution. Let me start off by saying that there's a lot of right answers, but I'm going to show you what I would do in this situation, how I would lay out the form. I get all my labels, or a good number of labels to start off with. Then I'll start arranging them over here. Now what I'm probably going to do is put several pieces of information on the same line. This is not something that I showed you to do in the previous video. If you don't do it exactly this way, that's quite all right. I don't need this one, so let's go back and start naming each of these. I'm going to call this LBL name, LBL address, LBL city, state, zip, LBL email, LBL gender, and LBL previous purchases. Now the next thing I'm going to do is start placing some text boxes on our design surface. I know I need at least 6 or 7. So let me pull this there and pull that out a little bit that way. Okay. What I'll probably do is go ahead and name them all first and come back and get rid of the text in each of the text boxes. And so now let's scroll up to the actual text property. And the neat thing is that as we move to other controls, it'll stay on this text property. So that's one of the reasons why I did that, instead of having to scroll back down, up and down every time I changed focus onto a new control. Next thing I'm going to do is put some radio buttons for male and female. Whoops. Boy, I cannot type. There we go. And we can reduce the size of this so that we can pull this over a little bit better. And it's time to bring this up a little bit. And bring that up a little bit as well. And with previous purchases, we'll want to put a list box. Or actually, there's not enough items for a list box yet, so we're going to go ahead and use checkboxes. We'll call this widgets, gears, hoses, and then we'll give them each the appropriate text. Hoses, gears, whoops, and widgets. And I will probably space those a little bit tighter together, and I do that using the arrow button, the up arrow button on my keyboard. Now, the instructions didn't tell you to put, whoops, I think I forgot one more thing. I want to have a state drop-down box. So let's go ahead and put a combo box. Let's get it sized so that it'll fit in there. And here we want to put no text. We're going to call this CBO state. And let's make sure that it's thin enough to fit in there. We'll extend it as much as we can. Maybe a little bit more this way too. There we go. Okay, like I was going to say, there's no instructions to put an OK and cancel button on here, but we're going to do that anyway, because the form would be pretty useless without any actions whatsoever. So BTN OK, and then BTN cancel. So let's scroll up here to the top, and in our text we're going to put cancel and OK in capital letters. Let's move it down just a little ways from the edge of our form area. We don't want to squeeze things too tightly so that it has a good visual presentation. Also, I want to move everything and align things down this left-hand column. It was pretty easy to do visually because of the boxes. They provided more contrast for your eye, but sometimes the labels don't give you enough. Now I'll show you a little tip that I probably shouldn't just yet, but we're going to select all of these labels. I'm going to do this by holding down the Shift button while I select new ones. So I just held down the Shift button and kept on selecting items. And then, if you don't already have the Layout toolbar, you can right-click here and make sure that Layout is checked, and you'll see this Layout toolbar. And I'll use this second button here, Align Lefts, and notice that they all snap nicely over to the left-hand side, making it nice and crisp. Also, let's set the text to customer information, and we're going to save everything we've done. Now, in our drop-down combo for the state, what I would probably do there is make it only a drop-down list, which means I can only select from one of the items on the list, because state is a common field that we'll probably want to search on, and like we explained earlier, we wanted to restrict data as much as possible. And so we want to restrict it to one of 50 or 51 values. I'm not going to take the time to type them all in, but if I were to, I'd go here to the items collection, start typing in A, K, A, L, and so on. So you'd want to get a list of all the abbreviations. You can do that from the Postal Service's website if you're in the United States. And you remember anything that we forgot at this point? Probably several things, but the one that I'm thinking of are the tab stops. Let's go ahead and select the first one and set the tab index to 1, 2, 3. I'm going to show you another more visual way to do this in the future. For right now, you should be able to do it by hand. I think we're on 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And while I'm thinking of it, another one of our best practices that we actually I talked about, but I didn't define it as a best practice, is that you should restrict your forms from resizing unless you have built-in resizing code. So what we're going to do on the form is actually change it to form border style fixed single. And that should pretty much do it. That's the solution that I would come up with for the exercise in Lesson 4. Now let me say this. You may have gone on each line and placed first name on a line, last name on a separate line, city, state, and zip on separate lines. And the reason I didn't do that is because this is a common way for people in the United States to actually view address information. This mimics how you would see it maybe placed on an envelope. Additionally, I chose to name this address 1 and address 2 and not use another line. Many times that is assumed within applications, and the second address line is sometimes optional. Finally, I chose to put the purchases on separate lines just because I felt like aesthetically it looked better that way than placing, the different ones in 2 columns, although that would have been a valid option as well. Had I done that, I would have wanted to make sure that this alignment here would have matched the alignment of the hoses so that I get some visual continuity in terms of columns if I were to do this. However, in this case, it would make this look very disconnected, the hoses, from the other 2 items, the widgets and the gears. But that's all just personal preferences, and there's definitely nothing that says that it's absolutely right or wrong. So, hope you did pretty good on this exercise, and hopefully you figured out how to do a couple things that maybe I forgot, in which case I congratulate you. Thanks.